You never have to pause in the middle of your foreplay or in the middle of you getting into the groove, right? To say, well, excuse me while I go freshen up. So every marriage comes with different challenges almost every single day, but as a team, as a strong partnership, you're going to work through those problems, hopefully, and God willing, together. Today, however, Asma and I would like to acknowledge and even give thanks for at least seven problems that we don't have just by virtue of being Muslim.
Hi, and welcome to Happily Entangled AF episode 23.
Yeah.
So, let's get right into it. First point that we don't have problems with is the fact that when men stand to pee, there's sometimes splashback and there's sprinkles on the ground. Sometimes they leave the toilet seat up. We don't have that problem. Thank God.
And we don't have that problem not because I'm a good boy, but
Because we're Muslim, and as Muslims, both women and men must sit to pee. And then there are two reasons. One, I would say is a health reason, because when you sit, your bladder empties properly.
Yeah.
So that kind of eliminates, the problems down the road of maybe prostate problems and that kind of thing. That's one. And two, for us to pray, our clothes needs to be clean. So if there's any pee on your clothes, you can't pray in it. So you have to now go and change it. And, and similarly, I guess with other faiths, if you have to go to your temple or to the church, you want to make sure that your clothing is clean and you present yourself, to your Lord.
And once you stand as a man, no matter how good your aim is and whatever, there is going to be some splashback. It's not necessarily going to be visible to your eyes, or you're not necessarily going to see like a wet stain on your clothes or anything like that, but there is going to be splashback. And
it's kind of like when you flush the toilet, you don't see the sprinkles moving, but they move.
And why should you ever go to the Lord to pray with splashback, with urine, any sort of fecal matter or excrement on your clothing? So that's the reason why we sit to urinate, and that's why she never has to worry about a seat being up or about any sprinkles,
puddles on the ground. You walk in and you're stepping on stuff.
That leads us into point number 2, which is the second problem that we don't have, the second marriage problem we don't have as Muslims, is that there is no pubic hair. Yeah, it's always smooth sailing. Why is that? Because it is our tradition that at most 40 days should not pass you without cleaning yourself, shaving off that pubic hair and that sort of stuff, to keep yourself looking presentable and well kept. Because intimacy is not just about the act, but it's about everything else. There must be some aesthetics to the whole thing, so part of that pubic grooming is a part of our faith. And once you get into it, you're not waiting for 40 days. It's almost a weekly or at least fortnightly at most sort of experience. So the drapes and the carpets don't match. That leads us now into point number 3.
So point number 3 is that there's never dirty underwear or stains on the underwear, because you must wash every time you poop.
Yeah.
So you would notice when you go to some Muslim homes, there'd be either a bidet or a hose, we call that Mrs. Bidet, or you would find like a bottle or a jug, so that after you use the bathroom, you will wash yourself, because you can't pray if there's anything on you, like we said in point number 1. And you don't have to worry when you're doing laundry. You're not going to find stained up underwears.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
Those what do they call them? Is it tighty whities? The white underwear that men used to wear a long time, and you would see the brown stain at the back and that kind of thing. Let me tell you, that's one thing a Muslim couple never has to worry about once you're doing the prescribed Muslim thing and washing your bum. Yeah. Our fourth point actually comes out of the whole washing point, which is that you always have clean genitals, which means that you're always down for some marital business. Understand? You never have to pause in the middle of your foreplay or in the middle of you getting into the groove, right? To say, well, excuse me while I go freshen up. No, because you're already fresh. In fact, you're always fresh. So you always ready whenever the moment arises. You always ready to rise to the occasion, because your business clean.
Okay, so that brings us to the next point. The next point is that, well, for me, as a girl in particular, I never really have a bad hair day. And if I do, that's why we wear a scarf. We just hide it right under there. So, that's one more problem we don't have to worry about. If he takes my hair looking messy, I'll just put on a scarf,
Yeah, but I just to sidetrack, I personally am a bigger fan of like that hair that women wake up with on a morning that's not groomed and it's just all over the place, like your natural hair. Like I personally find that to be a lot sexier than hair that is perfectly well groomed, and I like a sort of, I don't know if this is the correct word, but I like a disheveled kind of woman. I like that natural
It's a
look.
good thing.
So that suit me real good, because when she pull out that hijab, man, his hair going in every direction. So it's worked out real good. Anyways, our next point, in terms of problems we don't have in our marriage just by virtue of being Muslim, this will be point number 6, is we don't have to worry about personal grooming. Like you never have to worry about a bad odor or about bad hygiene altogether. Why? Why? Because, well, in the first instance, when it comes to your odor, it is a sunnah, it is a prescribed practice, right, from the Prophet of Islam, upon whom be peace, that we should wear perfume, at least the men, so you're always going to be smelling sweet. Prophet, upon whom be peace, liked to smell sweet and always ensure that his odor was pleasing to everyone around him, and this is something that Muslim men should continue with as well. So that's point 1. Point 2, when it comes to your personal grooming and that sort of stuff, we already talked about the pubic hair, but like facial hair, otherwise, even Muslim men who keep the beard, right? There's a way to keep a beard as well. The beard should be trimmed, it should always be kept neat. It shouldn't just be that you're keeping a beard and you're never grooming it and you have things sticking out all over and you have hair coming out of your nostrils. That is not the Muslim way. They may be growing the beard, but they're leaving out some of the fine print, right? So you're supposed to take care of that nostril hair, that ear hair. And when it comes to your nails, like I'll tell you a little thing about me. So the sunnah, again, the prescribed practice, is that you start taking care of all these things in preparation for Jummah on the Friday, the congregational prayer on the Friday. And these things are normally done on the Thursday. So for as long as I can remember, since I learned about this, every single Thursday, as a rule, I would always go over my fingernails and my toenails and ensure that at least that and all other easily accessible hairs are all groomed, trimmed, taken care of, etc. in preparation for the weekly prayer. So there is this weekly reminder to get these things done.
Okay, and our last point. We did not have problems when it came to preparing for COVID and being COVID compliant, because we have to perform ablution at least 5 times a day, because you have 5 compulsory prayers. So you're washing your nose, you're washing your mouth. Before we eat, we must wash our hands. So we were already doing these things. So
and that includes washing your feet, so no toe jam, the added bonus that you mentioned before. Yeah,
correct. You've got to wash your feet at least 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So, it's really an awesome thing for us. And there's one more thing I wanted to say. What was that? Oh, I know what it is. So the only thing that we had to do different was wear the mask. But for the women who were already wearing the veil, they had no problems. So,
as a matter of fact, there have been running jokes in the Muslim community when it came to the veil. So there are different sects in Islam, the same way there are different sects in Christianity and even Hinduism, right? So there are like the Astras, which you would know about predominant group in Trinidad, and then the Tablighs and the Salafs and everybody else, right? And the running joke is that the Tabligh women, who are usually the ones that would wear the veils, right? They were saying things along the lines of, well, look how everybody become a Tabligh all of a sudden, because now everybody is walking around with a face covering. And they meant it in good humor, good jest anyways. But yeah, so COVID, it wasn't really a big transition, at least for me, except wearing the mask, because you're always washing something, somewhere. You always have to be in a state of cleanliness, ready to pray at all points in time, and that's just the Muslim way. Now, these may not seem like big issues, but when you have big issues to face, the less smaller issues that are added or compounded to that can help, and for the women who have to come home and deal with the sprinkles when their husband folk and men folk tinkle, they would know how problematic and how disgusting that is, really and truly, you know. So these are just 7 problems that we don't have and that we are grateful for just by virtue of our faith. And I am sure that you would have some things that you could say similarly, depending or based on your faith as well. And if you can do so, please share that feedback with us in the comments down below. That's a wrap though.
Yes, so remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe if you haven't already. And we will catch you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you for viewing.
Before you go, I have to point out, she and I are actually ready for bed. We're recording in our garage on the night before this vlog is published. We're just about ready for bed. We're actually in tracks and PJs and just to go pray now and head to bed. So that's it for us. Until next week, God willing, for episode 24 in the series. Bye for now.